What is up, YouTube? In case you couldn't tell by the obvious title, we're going to be talking about the Netflix miniseries Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. Now, my little sister told me about it. I hadn't really been fucking with Netflix recently. I was pretty excited for it. I thought it was going to be like a series. And when I say a series, I was expecting it to be at least like two seasons worth, like at least 10 episodes or something like that. I expected it to be a continuous thing, but from my understanding, it's more of like a mini series, like it's episodic. I don't know if they plan on making a season 2 or a continuation of it, but me personally, that was definitely a disappointment. I'm like, okay, there's 4 episodes, each of them, not counting the intro and outro, are about 20 minutes. I literally binge watched this on my way to work on Saturday. Like, it was just over. It wasn't even really a full movie length. So I'm like, okay, Netflix, okay, Capcom, what the fuck? You could have kept that. If anything, they could have just fleshed out the plot a little bit more, fleshed out some of the characters, and they could have just made it a whole hour and a half. Or if anything, if you're just gonna take something that could literally just be movie length and break it down, you could at least gave us like at least 5 or 6 episodes. Maybe make them an hour length. But anyway, so there's gonna be some spoilers. We're gonna get into the plot right now. So if you haven't seen it and you're the type of person that doesn't like spoilers, cut this off right now. Right, so anyway, this whole story takes place right before that Lost in Nightmares DLC from Resident Evil 5. The incident at the Spencer estate with Chris and Jill fight Wesker. You guys are fans of the series. I know you know what I'm referencing. But it also takes place right after Resident Evil 4. So Ashley's father is still the president. They really go out of their way to reference Resident Evil 4. Specifically, him saving the president's daughter a lot. So, it opens up with a flashback. There's a fictional country called Penmanistan. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Well, it's not a real place, so why would anybody get offended? But there's like some civil war going on, and people just start turning to zombies just out of the blue. Then we cut forward to the present. So, there's an incident at the president's, no, it was the White House. It was the White House. There's an incident at the White House where people just start turning into zombies out of nowhere. Of course, Leon's the main character. He saves the day. And everybody's like, well, where did this come from? And this guy just comes out of nowhere like, I bet it was China. Probably was China. Fuck China. China did it. And they're like, okay. So they send Leon and 2 government agents in a submarine on their way to China. So Leon is just walking through the submarine. He sees one of the agents. His name was Jason. The other one being a woman named Shin Mei. He sees this guy shooting himself with some shit. And I feel like it was totally out of character for Leon to not make it more of a bigger deal about it initially. Especially with all the stuff he's seen and been through. But Leon eventually starts talking to the guy. Tries to get familiar with him or whatever. And he reveals that he was a survivor of Raccoon City. And the guy starts opening up to him. And he opens up to him about what happened in the beginning, the little flashback. Basically, the country was having a civil war. The government went over there, our government went over there and sold them the T-virus. Jason and the other people there were pretty much set up and used to be test subject. Everybody that survived the incident was infected with the T-virus, and they were given an inhibitor to keep them from transforming, from mutating, in order for them to be blackmailed and to not leak any information about what was going on there. In exchange for that, Jason was looked at like a national hero. So, Leon, going through the submarine or whatever, he runs into zombie rats. Yep, he literally walks in on rats eating pretty much everybody's there. Everybody who wasn't eaten by the rats, you can tell they were killed. Their throats was slit, like, you know. So he ends up running to Jason and Shin Mei. They reveal this information to him. They reveal that they're committing these terrorist attacks on purpose so they can expose the government. Not just the government, it was a specific guy, and I can't think his name because that's how unmemorable of a villain he really was. So the whole basically purpose is just, I guess, go on a vigilante type mission and just expose him for his crimes, you know, against humanity, and reveal what the government's role in spreading the T virus to terrorist organizations. So they asked Leon, does he want anything to do with it? And he's like, nope, I'm gonna tell him, you guys, because I'm a Boy Scout. So Jason, of course, like, okay, well, you gotta die, right? He attempts to fight Leon, him and Shin Mei. Leon ends up shooting him. Presumably he was dead. Follows Shin Mei, where they actually go and meet his grandfather, who's keeping her brother alive and keeping from fully mutating with the T virus. And it is shown that that's her motivation for teaming up with Jason to stop this government official guy, because he actually wants to sell the inhibitor to other countries. Not only other countries, but he wants to get the U.S. military to go along with his plan. You know, cliche super soldier, let's make super T-virus soldier guys that can't die. You know, typical shit, especially with Resident Evil. There's really nothing special about this plot. Of course, Leon's like, man, fuck that, I can't let that happen. There's some type of siege that's on the compound that they're in. Shin Mei, her brother, and her grandfather end up getting killed. Also, Claire is in this. Very briefly, though. That's something that I didn't really like. Like, Claire is in this movie, but she doesn't really do anything memorable. I mean, you know, she reveals, like, exposition by, you know, being a little fake-ass detective going around trying to do research on some of the other veterans that were in the incident in Turkmenistan. But, like, every time she's in a scene, she's always getting saved by Leon. Like, this is the same woman who was in Code Veronica. She's in Revelations 2. I mean, she's fought, like, Mr. X. The whole point is, like, she doesn't have to be portrayed as a damsel in distress. Like, she can fight. I don't really know why they try to do that to Claire in this movie, but whatever. I also don't like how anytime Claire and Leon are in the same place in a movie or any game other than Resident Evil 2, it's like, whoa, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? What a coincidence, right? They're both survivors of Raccoon City, and they're close. They both have similar interests in stopping global terrorism with bioweapons. You know, you would just think they would be closer. You would think that they would actually have contact, like, oh, you're at the White House? You're over here at this protest? Let's talk. Let's link up. Like, why do they always just run into each other by accident? I'm really tired of that trope with their characters. But it's really not a lot of interesting stuff in this movie. Just to get straight to the point with the climax. You know, of course, the guy shot himself with the T virus. You had to see that coming. I was watching it like, I know he's gonna turn into the tyrant or something crazy. I just know he is. Shoots himself with the T virus. His whole plan is just, you know, fight the U.S. military and make a really big scene so there's no way the government can hide what they were doing and expose them. You already know, Leon shoots his ass with a rocket launcher. Claire, through investigation, ends up running into the government official that was behind the incident in Turkmenistan. He ends up getting killed by Jason, a mutated Jason in the process. So, of course, that clears up the whole thing with him or whatever. And that's literally the whole fucking movie. Like, I ad-libbed and threw a few little things out, but that's pretty much it. There's nothing special about this. The Resident Evil series has been around for about 25 years. After the post Raccoon City arc, I guess you could say, the first three games, all of the plot of movies and games is pretty much the same shit. Umbrella's gone, but most of their research and information and weapons has spread it out the world to different terrorist organizations, to different cults who want to use these viruses or whatever to take over the world. Like, you really can't get that much creative anymore. So a lot of these plot points just become repetitive to a certain extent. But if you're going to use the same plot points, you just make it a little bit more entertaining. So just giving you guys pretty much the plot of the miniseries, movie, whatever you want to say, because it was like 80 minutes worth of content. Like, there's 4 episodes and they're all 20 minutes each. They could have just fleshed this shit out a little more, turned it into a movie. So the length of it was definitely something I didn't like. Like I just said, the plot is pretty predictable. I knew everything was gonna happen. Every Resident Evil game damn near ended up with somebody getting blown up with a rocket launcher or something in some type of underground laboratory or something. Like, we know how these things go. So I was like, okay, this wasn't really that different, but it's like I've come to expect that with this series. I did not like how very little impact on the plot Claire had. I did not like how there wasn't any real interaction between her and Leon except for a few scenes. I did not like how Claire was to be portrayed as weak, and she didn't really, like, she was, every scene she's in with Leon, she's always getting saved, and I just don't like that. I just don't like how she's not portrayed as well as she is in some of the games. Like, her, Jill Valentine, like, they're on the same level as Ripley from Aliens. Like, they're heroines. They're just as tough as the male protagonist. So I don't want to, like, throw sexism in anything, but they could have just characterized that better. There's not a lot of action. Like, there is action, but it's really not. A lot of it is just boring and slow. It starts off really fast, then it slows down, then it speeds up a little bit, then it slows down. Like, the fight with Jason could have been more action. He ends up killing Shin Mei in the end. I guess I don't know if it was because he was mutated and they was trying to say that his mind was altered, or if he was just angry and it was just part of his plan to just kind of be a dick as much as possible. I don't know. But yeah, he just pretty much just like picks up and just snaps her back in half and just like mangles and kills her. I guess that was supposed to be dramatic and cool, but like, it's just Leon just running around just dodging acid, and he ends up finding a rocket launcher, right? That's pretty cool, right? That's pretty convenient. I guess whatever scientists would conduct and work, they're like, let's make this whole place just fill up with acid, just in case we got to get rid of everything that's here. Even though all of this stuff probably costs like billions of dollars in this facility. And just in case we need it, let's just have this one rocket. Not a bunch of rockets, but this one rocket. Just one. Because that's not plot armor at all. But the thing that really pissed me off, well, I don't want to say pissed me off, more disappointed me, is again just how short this is. Like, what was the point of this? Why was this hyped up like this? Just to be like 80 minutes. It's not even a full length of a movie. It was so short. So I don't know if they plan on like fleshing this out, if this is gonna be like a series that has more than one episodes or what. But another thing is, like, it didn't really contribute anything to the Resident Evil series in terms of lore or storytelling. And some of the movies, they really don't. But I mean, at least with Resident Evil Degeneration, like, they talked about Tricell a little bit more. No, they referenced Tricell. This movie actually referenced Tricell in the end too. But they showed like the G virus again. Like, I mean, to be fair, Resident Evil Degeneration didn't really flesh out Leon or Claire's character. It was just a fun movie, but at least it was longer and it was more entertaining. What was the other one? Damnation. We got to see more of Ada Wong, but I guess you could say it didn't really flesh out too much. And what was that last? No, we got to see more of the Las Plagas. And what was the last one? I can't think of the third animated Resident Evil movie, but they introduced a new virus to the series, and we got to see Rebecca Chambers for the first time in years. So my whole point is, like, it wasn't necessarily a bad, I keep wanting to say movie, but it wasn't a fucking movie. It wasn't even long enough to be a movie. It just wasn't anything really that truly stood out to me. It wasn't all that interesting. Like, the whole plot was just the same reused plot points. Wasn't enough action. Like, none of the characters were really like anything I could remember. Like, I had to literally look up the names of the agents before I watched this video because I couldn't look it up. The main antagonist, I guess, besides Jason, or I mean, they kind of write him where you're supposed to sympathize with him and feel bad for him, but like, he's just not fleshed out enough. We don't know enough about these people to give a shit. I don't remember that guy's name. It kind of reminds me of why nobody really liked Derek Simmons from Resident Evil 6. He was not fleshed out enough. We don't know anything about this guy. Let's think of somebody like Albert Wesker. Albert Wesker has been a villain that's been reoccurring in the series. We know about him. We know why Chris doesn't like him. We know his connection to Umbrella. We know about him. That's what makes him interesting. Even Osmond Sadler was more interesting, and we didn't know shit about him except that he was some fanatic cult leader. He had a personality though. Salazar had a personality though. If you're gonna have a guy that's only on screen for a few minutes, give us something about him that's gonna be like, oh, I didn't like make us hate him. Make us hate him or make us love him. You know what I mean? Everybody can think of a character. The actor played him so well, he was a villain, that like we hated him so much that we remembered him. We all know that character, whether it's a movie, whether it's a video game. It's just a person that you love to hate. And ain't shit special about this guy. He's just a cliche, corrupt government official that was out for power, that was using the fucking T-virus to get rich. How many times have we seen that in the Resident Evil series? Not even just the Resident Evil series. How many times have we seen the angry scientists trying to use eugenics to take over the world? How many times have we seen the crazy fanatic terrorist organization? Or the soldier with PTSD that turns into a vigilante? Like, we've seen a lot of this stuff. So, like, honestly, I wasn't too impressed with this. I mean, in case you guys couldn't tell, I'm just a really big fan of the Resident Evil series, so I just had to check it out for myself. But honestly, I can't see myself watching this again. If they come out with more episodes or some form of a sequel, I may check it out just because I'm interested and I want to give it another chance. But these were just my personal thoughts. It was too short. We don't get enough development of Leon, especially Claire. She's like in 10% of the movie. In fact, if you take her out of the movie, it would make no difference on anything. And none of the characters are really memorable. So guys, I'm gonna give Resident Evil Infinite Darkness a 7.2 out of 10. Not because it was bad, but I don't know, maybe bad is subjective, whatever. But these are just my personal thoughts, guys. So let me know in the comments, do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm right? What are your personal feelings about Resident Evil Infinite Darkness? If you like this video, make sure you leave a like, make sure you comment any of your opinions, make sure you share it with a friend, and if you really like what you saw here, you can subscribe. But that's it about Resident Evil Infinite Darkness.